taking the mystery out of it, the mysteriousness out of it, and because we've been told like not to, the book is it's kind of hard to understand, but we're going through the different chapters and breaking it down and understanding. So we're gonna get into chapter 13 and 14, and it's dealing with the beast and somewhat of the mark, right? So we're gonna break it down. So before they try to cut the live again, just get right into it. So it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns upon his head, upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head was the name of blasphemy. So this is talking about the Roman Empire. The first beast is the Roman Empire, and those different 10 horns is like the different providence and different you know nation states that came together to form the Roman Empire. Okay, and then it says, and the beast which I saw was likened unto a leopard, meaning this Roman Empire was fast on how they went around conquering the world, the known world, and subjugating people. And it said his feet were as a bear, and his mouth was as of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and he sat on it with great authority. Right. So it's talking about his military might, and how strong he was. Right. And that dragon being the spiritual demon Satan. Right. So then it says, and I saw one of his heads as they were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So now let's get into the, NATO, what we call today NATO, the EU. And because America is the extension of the Roman Empire. They are that revised Roman Empire. That's why they copy the whole democratic system and so forth. So, and it says, they worshiped the dragon and gave power unto the beast, because they worship that old dragon, that Roman Empire. Like I said, that's why they copy so many of their philosophies and running the nation. And they worship the dragon and gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast?" And the beast is NATO in the EU. And who is like the beast? Wait, what is it? And they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like unto the beast? Who able to make war with him?" Because after World War II, when America dropped those atomic bombs on Japan, wasn't no country, brave enough to mess with America, because they knew America had those nukes, and at the time, no other country had them. So a lot of countries formed up with America. That's how they ended up forming the EU and all that stuff, and NATO. And so then they became a big strong empire, big strong army, with America being the spearhead. So that's why it says, who can make war with them? Because no country, in their right mind would think to go to war with these people, because then they're gonna have to fight half of the whole world. You know, that's what the whole big uproar is now. You got Russia, daring to step into those waters. You got China daring to step into those waters, because they have their own uh, federation called the BRIC. You know, and so they ready to go head to head with NATO. So so it says, and they worship the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is unto like the beast, who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemy. Because that's what America do. They go around talking all this stuff, all this big, tough Tony stuff, to get all the rest of the world frightened, and they go to these different nations taking over stuff. You know, they so it says, and it was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue for 40 and 42 months. Like this, that's just a certain amount of time he was given to rule. And he opened his mouth uh, and blasphemy against God. And that's what they do with their different false religions and their philosophies, and their their way of life was counter, productive towards how God say that we should be doing things. And it says, and he opened his mouth and blasphemy against God and blasphemed his name. And we we get into that. And blaspheme his name in the tabernacles, which in his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Talking about the Israelites, how they subjugate God's people here in Americas, you know, through slavery, through their Jim Crow laws and the other matters of oppression, or how they keep God's people, oppressed. Because we are that tabernacle. We are that because the church is the people, which is the people of Israel. That is what the church is, the tabernacle. It says, and blaspheme the name of his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven, because we are those that dwell in heaven. And heaven is a state of being or rulership. It's not somewhere you die and you go to, floating in a cloud, playing a harp, or nothing like that. It's rulership, when it comes to biblically speaking. And he opened his mouth, and blah, blah, okay, and it came, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and we are the saints, and he made war with us. That's how they captured us from the west coast of Africa. Not only that, when they came into Israel 70 AD, how they expelled us and destroyed the state of Israel, and then and we got cast out into different parts of the world. Then also through slavery, they made war with us, and they continue to make war with us. They do it more subtly now with their laws and stuff, or their police shootings, their public lynchings, as some would call it. And boom, boom, boom. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So that's where America at. You look at it. You look at the map of America military bases. America has a military base down there in every damn country you can think of. So he has power over these different nations and stuff. And it was given unto him, and he's ruling with a mighty fist, around the world, and not only that, he got the Lord's people subjugated, which is the Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. And it says, and it was given unto him. It was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and the power was given to him over all kindreds and times of nations. Right. So just boom, 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 and so just get a few precepts real quick, right? Then let's start with we're gonna start with just go to Revelation 2:9 real quick to understand who we're dealing with. Because like I said, it says he opened up his mouth and he spoke blasphemy against blasphemy in his name in the tabernacles of them that dwell in heaven, right? And it says, and how we know that, because it says in Revelation 2:9 says, I know thy works and tribulation, talking about the Israelites. The Most High know our works and our tribulations, our heartaches and stuff that we've been through. He just waiting on us to come back to our nationality, our culture, and keep the commandments so he can save us and do everything that he promised in his book that he was going to do. I know thy works and tribulations and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the synagogue of Satan when we talk about these people. Alright? Let's get Job 9:24. So Job 9:24 says, the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. And who's the wicked? I mean, it's an old saying that we all used to say, hey, it's a white man's world. That's an old parable that we say around the way. It's a white man's world. So, and the Bible is concurring with that. It's saying the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So God is saying, if these people is not the wicked, then you got to show me who's more wickeder than them. Because Like I said, we already know they got the highest body count. We already know that they caused the most havoc on this earth once they crawled out of them caves. So the Most High is telling you that these people are wicked. So and it tells you the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So God is asking, like, all right, if these people are not wicked for all the things they've done on this planet, then you got to show me somebody else. This is what the Most High is saying. So moving on, right? Let's go to Zechariah real quick. Let's get Zechariah. Let's get Zechariah 13 and 8. And it says, Zechariah 13 and 8, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but a third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried, and they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. Talking about the Israelites. And I will say, it is my people, like I said, the Israelites, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. So, and that's what we're getting ready to go through. We're getting ready to go through this hell period, this Jacob's trouble that, spoke of. So we got to, understand who our God is, who our power is, right? And, and it says, back to Revelation 13 and 8, and, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose name are not written in the book of life, who of the Lamb that was slain before the foundation of the world. So it's talking about those people that's going to end up taking the mark of the beast. That's why we just read that here it says, and I would bring the third part through the fire and refine them as silver is refined. Meaning it's going to be a small remnant of us that's not going to follow in the philosophies and the ways of America. That's not going to set that mark. And he said he's going to bring us through the fire. He's going to allow us to survive all this hell that's about to come to this earth. And he's going to bring us up out of it. And we, hope we can be part of that number. And it says, all that dwell upon the earth, all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, and those whose name are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Right? So I know we all got ears, right? And let's go to 2 and 6. There's Revelation 2 and 6 real quick. And it says, but this thou hast, that thou hatest the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. And he that have an ear, let him hear that the Spirit said unto the churches, to him that overcometh, I will to him that overcometh, I will give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. So that's what we're seeing here in 13. We're going to have that patience and endurance through these hard times that we're about to go through. And that's why, I'm so against the false teachings of the Christian church, because they're not telling our people and warning our people rightfully what's about to happen to this place. It's about to be hell on earth. And we're going to have to be able to endure these things before we can be able to make it out through this stuff that's about to happen. So like I said, war is not a pretty thing, especially a world war. That's something different. Yeah, we seen the war with Afghanistan, Iraq, and all that stuff, but that was over there. We're going to see some stuff over here. America's about to get touched. So we're going to, need to have that protection. So it says, and he that leadeth, and it says, he that lead into captivity, this is back in 13 and 10, he that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword. So now who led us into captivity? America. They came and kidnapped us. The so-called Europeans, they came and kidnapped us. They led us into captivity. So the Bible said that he that led us into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killed with the sword shall be killed with the sword. Who been killing us with the sword for the last 500 years? They have. So they're going to have to suffer the same judgment that they put out. It's called justice. I know a lot of us not familiar with justice because here in this place we don't see justice, but this is called justice. So it says, "He that have an ear, let him hear. He that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. He that kill with the sword shall be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints." So this is what the saints of God is waiting on. We waiting on that day that the ones that led us into slavery will be taken into slavery. The ones that kill us with the sword and persecute us on a day-to-day basis, they're going to have to face them same judgment. Because what it say, you reap what you sow, right? I mean, I know we all heard that before. You reap what you sow. So let's get Isaiah real quick. Get Isaiah 14:1. It says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and yet choose Israel and set them in their own land." That's what we're waiting for. That's the patience of the saints. Set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them. Because, like I say, he that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. So now it's telling you that the people shall possess them and bring them to their place, and Israel shall and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and for handmaids. And they shall rule over their captives, who captives they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. So this is the promise of God, that we will rule over our oppressors. All right. So that's why it tells you in Revelation, "He that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword." And here is the patience of the saints, right? And let's get one more too. I think let's see what this one. Let's go to Romans real quick. New Testament. Go to Romans 8:24. Uh, for for we are saved by hope, but hope is that seen is not hope. Hold on. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is not hope. For what a man seeth, why does he yet hope for it? Right. But if we hope for that we not see, then we do with patience and wait for it. So we got to be patient and hope for these things, right? Because a lot of people don't, looking at the current state of the world, we don't see how these things are going to unfold. But we got to hope for these things that is telling you that, he that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. We got to hope for this reversal of roles. Because, like I was telling somebody, if all of this is not true, this is all a lie, this is all a fable, then we actually have no hope, because America is not going to change. They have they had us here for 500 years. You would think something would have changed. It did not change. They would never ever change. They're not thinking about changing. It's too profitable for them to be the way they are. So why would they change? Why would somebody give up their prestigious position just to come down low and be equal or less than what than they was? Nobody would do that. No sensible person would do that. So we're asking these people to do some stuff that most people would not do. So we need to understand, America is not going to change. So we need to have that hope, like it tells you in Romans, hope for the things that we cannot see. So, because America is not going to, they're not going nowhere as far as their philosophies and their ideology, how they feel. This is what it is. So, so we gotta understand that. So there's no refining this person. There's no refining this man. These people are redeemable. This is this is this is life. This is how they get down. So it's moving on. He that lead into captivity should go into captivity. He that killed with the sword shall be killed, must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the saint and the faith of the saints, and we are the saints. And I behold another beast coming out of the earth, talking about America, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake like a dragon. Now those two horns is talking about their uh, legislation branch. They're Democrats and they're Republicans. Because with those two horns, that's how they make their laws. That's how they decide if they're going to go to war or not. That's how they make their decisions. Because the president, he can say what he wants, but he still needs the House of Representatives and the state and the Senate to be on board, right? And they got to come together. So those two horns, right? And it says, and he exercised the power of the first beast, meaning they act like the Roman Empire. That's why we say America is the extension of the Roman Empire through their philosophies, their way of life, and how they get down, right? And he exercised the power of the first beast before him and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. So, and which is, like I said, the Roman philosophies, to worship the first beast who deadly wound was healed. So, they came together, NATO, EU, so they are that beast, that system, that beast system. And with America being the head. And he he does great wonders so that he make fire come down from heaven. And that great wonder of fire coming down from heaven when they bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima in Japan. Those atomic bombs they dropped. They put the world at fear when they dropped them bombs because they like, dang, these people got that type of power. They got that type of technology. So nobody wanted to mess with them. Japan, check this out. They blew up Japan. Now Japan and America is allies, and America got to deal with Japan that Japan cannot have with their own military like that. So if Japan want to fight, America got to do the fighting for them because America said, even though we blew you up, we don't want you to get a bomb and when they decide to blow us up. So we'll do your fighting for you. We got your back. So and that's how they get down. So they got the whole world in fear, and Japan went with it, like some goofies. I mean, I guess you didn't have no other choice when they blew up your whole country, well, technically, so, but, so, and they went with it. And, so it says, and he does great wonders so that he make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. So it's not so mystical stuff. It's, in church that teaches this Antichrist guy coming and he's going to have these special supernatural powers. No, it's talking about America blowing up shit. That's what it's talking about. All right? America with their nuclear bombs and they threats and their military might and their power because they got bases like 140 something, or I want to say it could be 180 something, but 100, I'm going to say on a bare minimum, like 140 something bases all over the damn world. And countries that you wouldn't even think of that they have a damn base in. That's where they at. So, it says, and deceive them that dwell on the earth and by the means of those miracles. Because, that was a special thing in during World War II when they dropped them bombs. Because nobody never knew that you can take the power of the sun and put it in a bomb, then release the whole power of the sun on one area and wipe everything out, knock everything flat, just with one bomb. Take out a whole dango city, you know. So that was a miracle to people. It says, and deceive them that dwell on the earth, I mean, by miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast and that was wounded, uh, that was wounded by the sword, and that did live. So that's talking about NATO and the EU forming up together, and people coming together, and that's why you got Ukraine, trying to get into the to the beast system to NATO, because NATO is like, to them it's like, once you get into NATO, you made it. That's the top thing. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with you. But Russia and Korea got something for that ass, and China, and according to the Bible. So it says, look at Romans real quick again. Let's go to 28. 8 and 28. And he that know all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are called according to his purpose. Right? So, and so that's what this thing is, because God is calling all these things to happen for his purpose, for his will to be done, his things that he promised that would happen, right? And just move on, 13 and 15. And it says, and he had power given into the image of the beast, uh, of the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that many that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And that's what they did. They went around with their philosophies and and their and pushing their way of life on different nations. And if they didn't want to follow that, they destroyed that nation. Like Venezuela, um, Cuba when Fidel Castro was there. You know, in Haiti, all these different that's just in a recent time. All these different nations that they destroyed because they didn't want to worship the image of the beast and get down and take their fiat currency, that they trying to push on everybody. They trying to push this fiat currency, which is just paper with numbers on it. And America don't really got gold like that. So it's like they force you to take this monopoly money, and they bombing you when you don't. Let's get a second Ezra 15 and 16 real quick. And it says, second Ezra 15 and 16 says, for there shall be a sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, nor the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Meaning, he's going around these different places and he's causing havoc, and these people, it is causing people to be sadistic in their way of thinking. That's why you have people run up in Haiti to take out their own president. They did Gaddafi bad. Dragged the man out in the streets. So they causing all these different seditions in the world because for them not worshiping the beast, not following along with America's ways. And it says, and he had power given unto them in the image of the beast that, in the image, uh, in the image of the beast that the image of the beast should both speak and cause many that should not worship the image, they should be killed, right? So like I said, we see back here in Ezra that it says, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, nor the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Meaning, they just gonna just causing chaos in these different areas of the world that they want to conquer. They send their little CIA people in these different nations, and they help topple these different governments, so then they can come in and steal all the resources like they did in Iraq and Iran. Well, not Iran, but Iraq. Um, Afghanistan, these different nations, that they try to, Venezuela, because Venezuela was one of the, producing like, one of the world's most, I can say the world's most, but they had, they was doing their thing on the oil, and it was helping out the Caribbean and helping out the different countries of South America. That's why Haiti and the other, a lot of other countries in the Caribbean is doing so bad now because America jacked Venezuela up, and Venezuela can't produce the oil like they once was. That's why, still no electricity in Puerto Rico and all those different places like that. Because they jacking, because they causing all this havoc because these countries is not trying to get down with the beast. So, moving on. Then it says, and he caused both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive a mark in their right hand and in their forehead, that no man might buy or sell, that he have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So now, and the mark of the beast is not something that's gonna be worldwide. I mean, I'm pretty sure like other countries that deal with America, they probably gonna have their own little version. But this mark of the beast is specifically talking about the Americas, Babylon, right? So and in the citizens that is in America, right? So then it says, and he calls all small, and he calls all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond to receive the mark in their right hand and in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And here's the wisdom. Let him understand the number of the beast is the number of a man. So it's talking about people, and it says the number of a man. I know a lot of times people get all super deep, and a lot of times people want to go out deep with the mark of the beast, and it ain't it's deep, but it ain't all that deep. It's talking about people, all right. And it says, and the number is 600, three scores and six. Basically what we know as 666, and that is not talking about. Some people say it's talking about the atoms and the neutrons and blah blah blah. People try to go too deep when they really should only go one deep. Stop trying to be too deep. It's talking about the percentage. The percentage of people that's going to receive that mark, and the percentage of the people that's going to receive this mark is 66% of the people that's going to receive this mark. When you look it up on the calculator, 66% is 66.6 people is going to receive this mark. All right, and it's talking about the children of Israel because Babylon is going to do what they're going to do, but 66% of our people is going to receive this mark. All right. So and if you know anything about math, uh, that's more than half of our people is going to be getting the following to get along with the system of America. You know, and it's sad, but that's just how it breaks down. And let's go to jump up to 14 real quick, 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if a man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark on his forehead or of his hand, right? And so let's say in the third angels followed them, saying with a loud voice, if a man worship the beast in in his image and receive the mark in his forehead or his hand, the same shall drink of the wrath drink of the wine and the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture unto the cup and his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, right? So that's what's going to happen to those people that decide to drink to take the mark. Let's see, and so that's what happened. Let's get to we'll wait on that. So we get there anyway. So then so now just jump to chapter 14. So and it says, and I looked, and lo, the Lamb stood on the mount of Zion, and with him had 144,000, having his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard the voice of heaven as the voice of many waters, as the voice of a great thunder, and I heard the voice of the harps, the harpers harping with their harps. So now the 144,000 is not the only people that's going to be saved. Because some people will teach like, oh, those are the only people that can make it out. No, the 144,000 is the government body of Israel. Those are the ones that's going to be running things in Israel, the government. All right, just like America got their Senate and their representatives. So the 144,000 is basically the same thing, but for Israel. All right. So it says, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn the song but under but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth, and so they're gonna have this certain. So that song is a certain amount of knowledge, a certain amount of understanding that they're gonna have. and nobody else was going to have that understanding because God had blessed them to receive that certain knowledge and understanding. So that's what that song is talking about. So it says, and these are which were not defiled by women, for they were are virgins, and they which followed the Lamb uh, uh, with they that follow the Lamb wheresoever he goes. These are redeemed from among men, being the first fruit of God and of the Lamb. So now we see that part of virgin. They said it wasn't defiled by women. That's talking about philosophies. It's not talking about intercourse. It's not talking about someone that never had sex before. Because according to the Bible, a man cannot be a virgin. All right, women can be virgins when it comes to like, as far as like never being touched before, but not biblically speaking, a man cannot be a virgin. So it's talking about philosophies, those that didn't fall off into different religions and other false ideologies, whatever. They kept their faith and they stayed strong in their faith. That's what that word is talking about here when it mentioned the 144 being virgins. So it's not talking about people actually not having sex and all that stuff like they like some type of uh, Israelite monks or something. It's not going down like that. So so it says, and for they are virgins, they are they that follow the Lamb wherever wherever so he goes, there were these were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb, right? And their mouth was found with no gall, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Like I said, so they wasn't following different philosophies and worshiping other, gods and all that stuff. They kept the faith. They stayed strong. Um, and I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment is come, and uh, worship Him that made the heavens and earth and the sea and the mountains forever, and the mountains of the waters. My bad. So so that's what's gonna happen. And it says, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because Babylon is fallen. Talking about America, is fallen, that great city, because she made all the nations drink of the wine of the earth, of the wrath of her fornication. Right. So Babylon, that great city, is talking about America. So let's get it in Obadiah real quick. Let's start at boom boom boom. Obadiah 9. We're gonna start at 9, and we're gonna read it down to 18, right? So it says, just Obadiah 1 and 9. All right. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that everyone of Mount Esau, talking about these so-called Europeans, may be cut off by slaughter. So how's God going to get rid of these people? It says, the Mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, because we originated from the same parents at one point in time. When you go to the story of Jacob and Esau, and these people haven't been so kind to us ever since we came out of our mother's womb. All right. So, and it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So, what is God going to do to these people? He's going to cut them off forever. Okay, he's talking about extermination, eradication, getting rid of the cancer. All right. In that day in that day that stood against, in that day that thou stood on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces and foreigners enter into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was with them. Talking about when, the times that we got this, invaded by these different nations, other than, when they was the Romans and they did it themselves. But all the other times that we got invaded by the nations, they was right there helping them and egging them on, uh, to help them take us down. So God said, like, when these people was, invading Israel, you stood around and you helped them and you egged them on. This is the reason why you got to get destroyed. So they was complicit in our downfall. They supposed to be our brothers, like how they say, what's that movie, Ministers? Uh, what was it? Was it men? No, I think it was Boys in the Hood. We supposed to be brothers, right? Like that. We supposed to be brothers. You know how he said it. So it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame should cover thee. In that day that thou stood on the other side in the land that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and the foreigners enter into the gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, and even thou was with them. So it's talking about, kind of going back to Nebuchadnezzar when the Babylonians came and took us out the first time. The Babylonians and the Assyrians, so Esau, the so-called European, was right there cheering them on and egging it on and helping them. But thou should not have looked on the day of thy brother in that day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah. Talking about the children of Judah, the black, the so-called African Americans, Jamaicans, and Haitians. We represent the tribe. We represent the kingdom of Judah. The Jamaicans, Haitians, and so-called African Americans. And we were the one that got took into slavery during the Atlantic slave trade. So he's telling him, thou should not. Thou should not have looked on that day of thy brother in the day he became a stranger, neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. So you got to understand one thing about this Bible. Yeah, this Bible was written thousands of years ago, but it was not written. It was not written for the time of those people during that time. It was written for us. That's why when we read this with understanding, it makes more sense to us, now, because it is our history book. These are prophecies that we're reading. The prophets had the knowledge and wisdom from the Most High to write these things down, and and foretelling the future on what was going to happen to us. So you got to understand, these things wasn't, a lot of these things that we read in the Bible wasn't applicable to them during their time. It was, a lot of the stuff we read in the Bible applies to what we're going through now, within the last 500 years or so. All right. So it says, but thou should not look up on that day of your brother in the day that he became a stranger, neither should thou rejoice over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither should thou shouldest thou spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Because ain't nobody more proud than a white man in America. They even got a song called "Proud to Be American." You know what I'm saying? So ain't nobody more proud than them. And it says, and thou should not enter into the gates of my people in the day of their calamity. Yet thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor had laid hands on their substance, because they stole from us. After they saw we got taken down, they came in and they looted our land. They stole everything. That's why the royal family got so many Middle Eastern artifacts in their damn boat and shit. That's why they got the so-called the rock that Jacob supposedly laid his head on when they said the whole Jacob ladder thing, sitting under their throne. Because they stole from us. That's why, like, you can see depictions of them coming into our temple and taking our big old giant menorah that we had in our temple. They stole from us. That's what they did. All those riches that the royal families in England and all these other little places got, they stole from us. They looted. And they always want to talk about us looting, and they are the original looters. And it says, nor laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Uh, Neither should thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those that did escape. So when we was running, trying to escape from these people that was killing us and trying to take our land, these Esau's, these so-called Europeans, they were standing right there to chop us down. They was waiting for us to kill us. As we was trying to run and escape with our women and our children, they was killing us. They wasn't allowing us to escape from the Babylonians and the Assyrians when we was getting attacked. They was right there, and soon we run out, they was, right there to, to chop us up, to get us, to kill us. And that's history, that's facts. Neither should thou stood in the crossway to cut those of his that did escape. Neither should thou have delivered up those that remain in the days of distress. So then not only was they killing us, then they was actually capturing us and bringing us back to the Babylonians, back to Nebuchadnezzar and them. Just like how we had today with the modern slave catchers. They'll catch you, they'll bring you right back to master, back to the plantation. They was doing that back then, but this time it was to the Babylonians. So, and for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathens, and for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathens, as thou hast done it, shall it be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return on thy own head. So we're talking about justice here. This is why God is going to destroy these people, because they were, a main contributor to our destruction. And it still is a main perpetrator of our, demise and destruction here in America. So we read in history, this is not some type of, this ain't your grandma religion. This is history. This is our culture. This is what we reading. All right. It says, for ye have drunken upon my holy mountain, so all the heathens drink continuously, and they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they lay at them. They shall be as they have not been. I mean, he's going to destroy them. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. Talking about he's going to, in the end of all of this, even though we're going through hell in America and everywhere else that we're going through, it says, but upon Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessors. The house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Meaning we're going to take their riches, just like they took our riches. We're going to take their riches. That's why I always say all that stuff that the royal family got over there in their castle, they got to give all that shit up. All that stuff that they got over in the Vatican, they got to give all that shit up because they stole it from us. All that gold, everything, it coming back, and we're gonna take not just what they stole from us, we're gonna take their shit too. Thus said the Lord. In the house of Jacob shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, in the house of Esau, which is the so-called Europeans, for stubble. You know what stubble is? After the grill is done burning, all the little stuff that's so burnt, it's like look like dust. At the bottom of the grill where the charcoal sits, that's gonna be done. We're gonna be that fire, that flame that burn these people up to we crush them into dust. All right, and it says, "In the house of Jacob should be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame." Pastor not gonna read these verses to y'all, man. I'm telling you that this will take his money away. Because he can't tell you that God loves everybody and read this book right here at the same time. This is Obadiah, one of the shortest books in the Bible. You can read it in about 5 minutes. And it says, in the house of Israel should be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, in the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall be not, and there shall be any, there shall not be any remaining. There should not be any remaining of the house of Esau, For the Lord has spoken it, not me. God said it's not going to be any one of them remaining. That's his great plan to get rid of these people. That's how we're going to have peace on earth. Once these devils are gone and taken off the planet, thus said the Lord, not me. God said it. We're reading it in the Bible. And everybody got the same book in their Bible, but nobody reads it. And this is God's great plan to get rid of these people. Because, like I said, they're not going to stop. They will never, ever stop doing what they've been doing. We've been here for 500 years. They would never, ever change. They'll just change their tactics up. But they would never change. That's why this has to happen. Because God knows who these people is, because he created them. The house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. And the house of Esau, the so-called European, for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken it. Alright, that's what's going on. Alright? So just get back to Revelation. Where? Matter of fact, boom, boom, boom. That one's Zachariah. We're gonna get all the meat off the bone. Let's get Zachariah. And I would bring the third part through the fire and refine them as silver is refined. I would try them as gold is tried. I will try them as gold is tried, and they shall call my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, the Israel, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. And that's what we're going to do in that day when God gives us that power to take these people out. It's not time yet, but I'm not, when he gives us that power. And the third angel, back to Revelation 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying in a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark on his forehead or on his hand, the same shall drink the wine of wrath, and the God is poured out with mixture unto the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, right? So let's get I think I want Job. Just get Job real quick. Okay, Job 20 and 23. So it's Job 20 and 23. When he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he's eating. So God's going to catch these people while they're, comfortable, while they, thinking everything is all good, and that's when destruction is going to come upon these people. Right? So let's move on. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image and worship and receive the mark on his forehead, right? And hold on, let's get first let's get First Corinthians. Let's get First Corinthians. Wait, no, let's hold on. Let's get No, we'll hold that for a second, right? But no, we'll get 7 and 4 though. Revelation 7 and 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 140 and 4,000, and the tribes of the children of Israel. Talking about the ruling class. The tribe of Judah was sealed 12,000. The tribe of Judah was still tribe of Judah was still 12,000. The tribe of Reuben was still 12,000. The tribe of Gad was still 12,000. It's talking about the people that do not worship the beast, and how we're going to come up out of this. Was still 12,000. The tribe of Asher was still 12,000. The tribe of Natalia was still 12,000. The tribe of Manasseh was still 12,000. The tribe of Simeon was still 12,000. The tribe of Levi was still 12,000. And the tribe of Issachar was still 12,000. And the tribe of Zebulun was still 12,000. And the tribe of Joseph was still 12,000. And the tribe of Benjamin was still 12,000. After this I behold and lo a great multitude. So this is talking about the rest of Israel. So a lot of people would teach, oh, this is talking about everybody else. No, it's not talking about everybody else, because it tells you that salvation is for the Jews. Alright? It's not for everybody else. Everybody else is missile food. It's talking about Israel. And we can prove that. And we have been proving that. And I behold, lo, a great multitude which no man could number, all the nations and kindreds, the people, tongues, stood before the throne, before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and the palms in their hand. Right? So, and because we know we've been scattered, when it's talking about all nations and tongues, because right now we're here in America speaking English. Then we got our people down in South America speaking Spanish. Then we got then we got some people that's over in on the west coast of Africa still speaking, their languages over there. Then we have the Afro-Iranians, people that speak, whatever language they speak over there. Then we have our Sadet people over in India. Then we got our Afro-Asian people that's over in China and Japan. We're everywhere, all right? So we're speaking these different languages. So that's what it means by all nations and kindreds and tongues. It's not talking about these other people, because God got a punishment for these other people because what they did to us. All right. So it's not talking about them. It's talking about the children of Israel that have been scattered to all these different parts of the world through slavery and conquest. Right. So let's prove that just really quick. We're almost done, huh? So go to James 1:1. It says, James, the servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings. So we are scattered abroad, through all these different areas, right? Let's get Deuteronomy real quick. Deuteronomy 30:1. Deuteronomy 31. It shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind. Then we're going to start remembering these things, start understanding, hold on, we are the people of this book. And it says, call these to mind among all the nations wherein the Lord God hath driven thee. So we are that great multitude, because we see in in the mouth out of two witnesses the truth will be established. We see James is calling us, saying that we're scattered abroad. Here, out of Yahweh's own mouth, he said that all the nations that we've been scattered to, we're going to start to remember ourselves. Then we're going to start understanding who we are in these different nations. That's what's happening now. It says, it shall come to pass where all these things come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Lord God hath driven thee. Right? Let's get one more. To prove that this great multitude is not talking about what you might learn in church that's all these different people know. Because, like I said, Superman does not come and save the victim and the person that commits the crime. That doesn't work like that. Not even in comic books. The superhero don't save the victim and the perpetrator. It doesn't happen like that. All right? So it says, Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all nations, let me read it right, among all people from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. All right. So this is what we're talking about in Revelation, where it says a multitude of a great multitude. Right. That's what it's talking about. Right. It says, and I behold, lo, a great multitude which no man could number of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb clothed with a white robe and palms in their hands, and with palms in their hands, right? So that's what's going to happen. We're going to be saved from all these different parts of the world because, only a third of us is going to make it out of Babylon, but we have our people scattered through all four corners of the world also. So that is that great multitude. All right. So now moving back on. Um, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, "Blessed are the dead which died in the Lord from Heron's henceforth. You said the Spirit that they may be made rest from their labors and their works do follow them." Right. So then it says, because it tells you in Thessalonians that the dead shall rise first. The dead in Christ shall rise first. The ones that believe and they passed on, they will have that part of that first resurrection. And I look and behold a white cloud, and upon the cloud one set like unto the Son of Man, having his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. Right. So and we know that man is to be Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus. And the angel came out of the temple crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, "Thus in thy sickle and reap, the time has come for the reaper for to reap, and the harvest on the earth is ripe." Right. So just get a little understanding of what this harvest is. Right. So, and like I said, this part might be a little tough for the ears, but I mean, it is what it is. So we go to Matthew 13 and start at 24. So it says so this Matthew 13 and 24, so you can understand what the angel is reaping and what is, telling Yahushua to go reap. So it says, uh, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man, and the kingdom of heaven is Israel. And the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seeds, which is the Israelites. But while the man slept, the enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. So it's talking about during our slavery, how master came and slept with our women and bare children by them, and then so then a lot of these children that end up being born through the slave master seed line, end up being his their offspring, and that become the seed, and that end up corrupting the seed of the Israelites, right? And let's go. Then and it says, but while the man slept, his enemy came in to sow the tares among the wheat. The enemy is the so-called white man, the devil, and we're gonna prove that. And but when the blade was sprung and brought forth the fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did not thou sow good seed in the field? From whence then have this it tares? So he's asking, like, didn't you sow good seeds? I thought these were supposed to be all Israelites right here, right? Then he said unto them, the enemy has done this. So, like I said, during slavery, master used to come in. Not all the time when they rape our women, children is born, but it'd be those occasions when children are born. Then, so then a lot of times, so then a lot of our, some of our seed line might go back to the slave master, which, in biblically speaking, you would be a terror. Right? And like I said, I know it's hard to, for us, some of us to understand, but that's just the nature of the situation. Like I used an example before, like Bob Marley, you know, brown skinned man, right? But guess what? His dad is Irish. So guess what? He would be biblically a white person, even though he's brown skinned, because it's not about color. It's about the bloodline. It all goes back to the bloodline and the seed of the father. Who's your father is. That's what it's all about. All right. So So it says, and while the men slept, the enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So that's what master used to do all the time. He used to sleep with our women. You got your wife. Then here come master, come and snatch her up from you, and he go sleep with her. Then he'll go about his way. Don't even take care of the baby he just made with the woman. And he probably take that baby, put him in the cotton field too, right? It says, and went about his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servant of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did did not thou sow good seed in the field? From whence then it is tares? He said to them, The enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, Will thou then go? Uh, Will thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, meaning no, lest while you gather up the tares, ye also root up the wheat. Let both grow together until the harvest. Right? So it's saying, it's hard to tell who's who, because a lot of, because some of our seed line have been mixed with the oppressor. So it's hard to tell who's who until the day of the harvest, which will be the end of the world. And it says, but let both gather until the harvest, and in the time of the harvest will I reap. Say to the reapers, gather ye together the first tares, and bind them up in bundles, and burn them. But gather the wheat unto my barn. Right? So that's what we read in Revelation when the angel telling Yahushua to go reap. Right? So let's jump down to 39 to prove that these people are the devil. It says, the enemy that sold them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. So it's telling you right there that these people that end up sleeping with our women that's outside of Israel and bearing children by them are the devil. And the harvest is the end of the world. It's not me saying it. It's Yahushua, Jesus saying it. So when we call these people the devil, it's not by our own accord, even though we have all right to call them the devil for the things that they done. But the Bible calls them the devil. Because that's who they are. That's what he created them to be. It's not Greek mythology where you got somebody with a pitchfork poking you, in hell. We're not dealing with Greek mythology. That's what church teaches you. When you think about a heaven and a hell and you die and you go to, no, that's Greek mythology. That's not Bible. All right? We're dealing with practicality here. And so it says, the enemy that sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels, right? So let's get back. So it says, and he sat upon the cloud, thrust in his sickle in the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven, and he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the altar, which had power over fire, and carried the loud and cried with a loud cry unto him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. Right? So we're gonna just see what the vine is. So, we're going to be thorough with this. Let's get to Isaiah 63. It says, Isaiah 63 and 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom, Edom is the biblical name for the Europeans. Who is this that cometh from Edom, dyed with garments from Basra? With his glorious apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, that I spake in righteousness, mighty to save. Talking about Yahushua, Jesus. Therefore thou art red in therefore thou art red in thy apparel, and thy garments is like that treaded the wine fat. So, like I said, so those are those clusters. Those so-called Europeans that Yahushua is personally going to destroy himself. And I had tried it the winepress alone, And the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger and trample them with my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain my remnants. For the vengeance, for the day of vengeance is mine. Uh, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and there is the year of my redeemer. The redeemed is come, right? So that's so it's talking about that's what this wine press thing is, right? And just see, hold on real quick. Oh no, we got where we at? Let's get it in a let's see how it reads right here, right? Let's see how it reads right here. So it says, who is this that come from Basra and Edom, who is splendid and dressed in red, marching along in power and strength? It is the Lord powerful to save, coming to announce his victory. Why is his clothes so red, like that of someone who trampled on grapes? So, like we read in Revelation, these clusters of grapes is these people that Jesus, the Yahweh himself, is going to destroy. Who trample on grapes to make wine. The Lord answered, I have trampled the nations. What did Jesus say? What did the Christian say? Not my Jesus, but what did my Jesus say? My Yahweh say? I had trampled the nations like grapes. So this is what this man going to come back to do. 8 times stomp on these people, right? Says, I had trampled the nation like grapes, and no one came to help me. Because everybody's seen what happened to us. They seen that we got taken from the west coast of Africa and all the hardship that we've been through. They see how, the mistreatment that we suffer here. But he's saying nobody came to help. Nobody said, hey, leave them people alone, America. Stop doing what you've been doing, America. Nobody said that. But he said, I had trampled the nations like grapes, and no one came to help me. I had trampled them in my anger, and their blood had stained my clothing. I decided that the time to save my people had come. It is it is time to punish their enemies. I was amazed that when I looked and saw that there was no one to help me, but my anger made me strong, and I won the victory myself. So Jesus said he's going to do this himself. He don't need nobody to come and help him. He's going to do it himself, right? He says, and I won the victory myself. In my anger, I trampled the whole nations and shattered them. I poured out their lifeblood onto the ground. This is who the Christian church is not telling you about. The real Jesus, the real Yahweh. Alright? So it says, moving on. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth and gathered the vines of the earth and cast into the great winepress of the Lord. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, and even unto the horse's bridle by a space of 1,600 furlongs. So that's how much blood is going to be shed when Jesus come back and destroy these people that had us in derision, had us in oppression, and he got a special judgment for these group of people. All right, and that's what the Christian church is not reading you. That's why they tell you don't read Revelation. That's why there's a lot of reasons why. Because number one, they don't understand the book, and number two, this is our book, our history, and we need to understand what is written. So and that's Revelation 13 and 14. It's part 7. We're gonna get into part 8 next time. And I hope y'all got a better understanding and understand that we got a God that will fight for us, and he's ready to fight for us, and he's coming back to fight for us, and he's coming back to destroy these people that destroyed us. Alright, and he got a great plan to eradicate a certain group of people off the planet and get rid of them like you get rid of cancer, so it don't ever come back. Because these people are cancerous to the earth, and a lot of them will admit that they have been cancerous to the earth. So, with that being said, I want to say shalom, shalom to all my people. Until next time, peace. All right.